Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the Stogie Review video review. This is a short ashes segment, and unfortunately Jerry's not here per se today because he wasn't feeling 100%, and I shot Brian and I a message on Twitter asking if we could cover for him, and not a big deal. We'll just record a quick short ashes video. But I have Jerry from the past here, and Jerry and I are going to review a cigar together. But what I'm going to do is, well, Jerry, why don't you tell us, why don't you tell the fine folks at Stogie Review what we will be smoking, and how's it, what is it made up of?
Good evening, everyone. This is Jerry from thestogiereview.com, and tonight I bring you a video review of the Carlos Torano Exodus 1959. This is the gold label. Some of you might be familiar with the newer silver label edition. The gold label is one of the original ones put out by Carlos Torano. It originates from Honduras. It has a Habano wrapper, a Honduras binder, and it contains 5 different tobaccos blended together to make the filler. The countries are the Dominican, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica that make up the filler.
Wow, 5 countries. That's a lot of tobacco in the filler. And as you mentioned, we're looking at a Nicaraguan wrapper, Honduran binder, and just a ton of filler. There's it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different sizes available. One of which is a small Panatella coming in tins. Another is a Grand Corona coming in a tube. The other are just what seem to be traditional sizes: Toro, Churchill, Robusto, Perfecto. But this one is probably one of the larger ones in the bunch. So, what size is it?
This is the double Corona size. As you can see, it's box pressed. It weighs in at 7 inches long with a 50-inch ring gauge.
Well, awesome. Well, it's about time to look over the cigar before we clip and light it. And so I'm going to go ahead and just do that. And this cigar, you probably sent it to me, I don't know, about years ago. It was just sort of buried in the bottom of my cooler. I was looking for something that I thought you might smoke, and I just happened to come across it. And over the years, or over time, it's become less of a box press. It's actually sort of oblong. There's one edge that's stayed kind of square, but the rest are very rounded. It sort of looks like an oval at the foot. Let's see if I can get it to focus. But aside from that just sort of aesthetic thing, just from age, it looks pretty good. It's got a really dark, like a deep chocolate brown wrapper color. There's a couple of small veins here and there. I've always liked these bands from on these cigars. They're just they're fairly simple. They're classy looking bands. They're not overly complicated. They're slightly large, but it's sometimes you get that. I'm getting a little bit of just sort of an earthy, maybe a little bit of a musty aroma. No, probably more of an earthy aroma, both on the head and foot. But it looks like a beautiful cigar. It's age. It's done very well with age. It hasn't lightened up or split or cracked. It's been in very good condition. So I'm gonna go ahead and clip my cigar, start my toasting and lighting process. I'm sure you're going to do the same very shortly. But before we go into your toasting and lighting session, why don't you tell us about what do you think about Carlos Torano cigars as a whole?
I gotta say, Carlos Torano is one of my favorite manufacturers of cigars. I enjoy almost all of them. I guess in order it'd have to be the Tribute Series from 2003, followed by the Signature, and then lastly the Exodus 1959.
Yeah, I used to smoke Torano cigars fairly frequently. It's actually one of my favorites. The other one being the Torano Novento we smoked on Dogwatch Cigar Radio a while back. But this is probably the first Torano I've smoked since I did the short ashes review on the Virtuoso and before that, it's been months, maybe even years since I had a Torano cigar. My local shop just doesn't carry them, and the reason being because of the whole falling out with their sales staff. At one point in time, from what I understand, Torano decided they were going to move operations and be distributed by CAO, and they just up and fired all their sales reps without any sort of notice, and that left a sour taste in my local shop's mouth per se, and he really hasn't brought them in since. I know every once in a while he talks about maybe bringing one of the Toranos in, but that's really the extent of where I've seen it go. And to be honest with you, ever since that switchover, I think I actually see Torano cigars less, even though they are getting more exposure. Like in Vegas, the CAO party, there was a giant, lit up Torano sign on the side of the casino, or on the side of the hotel. So they are getting exposure. Just I don't know whether there aren't just new cigars coming out to captivate people's attention, or what the case may be. But anyway, I've practically got my box press cigar lit, and I checked the pre-light draw. It was free. Not much of a cold flavor, but it was nice and free. I was a little concerned maybe it was sort of smushed and it might not draw as well as I'd like, but the draw was fantastic before I lit it. And well, I've got a little bit of unraveling going on, but the draw is fantastic, and I'm getting good smoke volume. I'm actually going to see if I should have some pectin in the refrigerator. I'll fix that up in no time at all. But so Jerry, we mentioned that this is a box press cigar. What are your thoughts on the whole the box press format of cigars?
You gotta love the box press Stogies. They're so attractive to watch. To see them all lined up within a box. These come in a box of 24. I'm not sure how many different sizes they come in. To me, when I really enjoy a cigar, I like the big guys, the 7 inches, 7 by 50 Churchill size, or even the Toro size Stogies that I enjoy a lot. But it looks like the toasting the foot here has worked out pretty well. Pretty even all around. Alright. Well.
Well, Jerry, it sounds like you got your cigar lit. I'm finicking around with mine a little bit. I didn't cut too much off the head. It was kind of interesting. I still have an enclosed ring, and I cut a portion off, and I can actually pull the ring completely off. It's just sliding around a little bit. Might hit that with a little bit of pectin to fix it. Maybe not. We'll just see how long it takes before it really annoys me. But anyway, your cigar's lit, my cigar's lit. So let's take our first production break. We'll be back in just a second, and we'll get started on the first third of the Carlos Torano Exodus 1959. Alright, well, welcome back. It's about time to get started on the first third of our Carlos Torano Exodus 1959 gold label. And, I gotta say, Jerry, you're probably a little freaked out. I mean, you got more or less the ghost of Stogie Future banging on your door wanting to do a review. Obviously, my cigar is 2 years older than your cigar. You're smoking yours in the moment, and I'm smoking something that's got a little bit of age on it. So obviously, our flavor profiles aren't quite going to mesh. But that's all right. So, now we have perspective of, a cigar in the moment and a cigar with a little bit of age on it. Now, while 2 years isn't a ton of age, it's a significant amount that it should change the profile in certain ways. And, we'll see exactly how much that changes in just a moment. But first things first, the draw is excellent. That's one of the things that I always liked about box press cigars, is that It seems to me that they're a little underfilled, so that they can be squashed and shaped and all that good stuff without stressing the wrappers and whatnot. So there's a little bit less tobacco in there, and then they force it into a certain shape. As a result, the draw tends to be a little free or a little looser. You know, you get a lot of smoke. One thing I can't stand about a cigar is when it's plugged. I can deal with one that's overly loose. I'll just force myself to smoke a little slower so it doesn't get hot. But when the cigar is, when I feel like I really need to work to get any kind of smoke out of the cigar, that's really when it starts tanking for me in terms of enjoyment. Finish is smooth. There's a little bit of spiciness through the sinuses, which is a little surprising because, you know, I really expected all that stuff to mellow out. I mean, it's not bad. The body is medium at best. I think that may be another aspect of age. This is advertised as a full-bodied cigar, or medium to full-bodied. But I'm smoking it as the first cigar of the day with a cup of coffee. It seems nice and mellow. It's enjoyable at this point in the day. As far as the flavor profile goes, I'm getting a little bit of a spiciness. I really can't place the flavor of the spice. It's not a spicy sensation, but there's actually a spicy flavor, and I just can't quite place it. I'm getting a little pepper through the sinuses. It just has a sort of a rich natural tobacco flavor. There really isn't anything jumping out at me. The profile just seems to have mellowed out a lot, and everything is just sort of melded together. There aren't a lot of those distinct flavors that pop out from time to time in any particular cigar. This one has just been very smooth and sort of a melting pot of flavor, and it's quite enjoyable. I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm glad I pulled it out of the cooler this morning. So Jerry, what do you think? I mean, you're smoking your cigar in the moment. What are you getting out of a fresh Carlos Torano Exodus 59 Gold?
I've been smoking my Carlos Torano Exodus 1959 double Corona now for about 10 minutes. I guess I'm about, I don't know, an inch or so into it. As you can see, it's burning quite nicely, very even throughout. It's a testament to the hard work and dedication people at Carlos Torano put into manufacturing their stogies. Beautiful, beautiful white ash. Very good draw. And the blend is amazing. Those 5 tobaccos that make up the filler just blend and complement each other very well. All throughout your mouth, you get different sensations. You get the sweetness and the smoothness from the Honduran and the Dominican filler, and then you also get a nice, I wouldn't say a nice mellow spiciness. You know, it's not overwhelmingly spicy, coming from the Nicaraguan and Costa Rican parts of the filler.
All right, well, sounds like you're enjoying your cigar. I'm enjoying mine as we get started here. So let's take another production break. We'll be back in just a second, and we'll get started on the second third of our Torano Exodus 1959 Gold.
All right, I'm back, and as you can see, I'm about a little past the halfway point of smoking my Carlos Torano Exodus 1959, and I gotta give this a very high recommendation. If you haven't tried this stick, definitely go out and do so. Also try all the different offerings by Carlos Torano. Like I said, the 1916 Cameroon's a favorite for a lot of people out there. I prefer the Signature, the Exodus, as well as the Tribute. The Tribute might be a little bit hard to find. There's I think there's 2 editions, a 2003 and a 2004 Tribute edition. Gonna be relatively hard to find. Those are limited numbers there. But I mean, I don't think if your flavor profile is similar to mine, you'll like almost everything Carlos Torano puts out there.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had any of the tributes. It's actually, we're a little ways away from 2003 and 2004. I don't know whether there's any newer releases since then. I wasn't real crazy about the 1916 Cameroon. and I haven't necessarily thought a lot of the Torano stuff was bad. It just a lot of it just didn't suit my flavor profile. I like the Exodus. I like the silver Exodus as well. I really did like that the Torano Noventa. I wasn't a fan of the Casa Torano. It was just too mild. Although I hear the Maduro is supposed to be much better. I don't think I've ever had one. But more or less, I'm practically at the same point you are, about halfway through the cigar. The burn line on mine's a little thick, a little blistered along the back side. On the front side, the face of the band is nice and thin. It's kind of wavy. See if I can show you that. It's not terrible, but I'd really like to see it much more uniform. The ash color is fairly light. It's relatively strong. I mean, I'm knocking it off the end of the cigar with a firm tap at around 3/4 of an inch, just to keep things under control. The draw is very nice. I'm getting lots of smoke. It's dense, easy to get through the sinuses. It's the type of smoke you could easily blow smoke rings with, and whatnot. The flavor profile, it's enjoyable, but it's not memorable. I'm enjoying it, but there aren't any flavors that are really popping out at me because it just seems like a melting pot of flavor. For example, I like to make salsa. I chop up my own vegetables and whatnot. I put them in the bowl, and if you take a bite of the salsa right away, it doesn't really taste like much. It just tastes like a variety of vegetables. You can taste the green peppers. You can taste the individual jalapenos. You can taste the individual, onions, and different things like that. If you take that bowl of vegetables and stick it in the refrigerator, cover it up, let it sit, 8 to 10 hours, pull it out, stir it up real good, put it back in the refrigerator until the following day, stir it up again, take a scoop, and it tastes like a totally different food. All the flavors are married together. It makes a nice medley of flavors. It's enjoyable, but there aren't any real particulars that really jump out at you. And I think that's the same thing I'm getting out of this cigar. It's just sat long enough that all the flavors have married together, and now you get just one sort of harmonious flavor. It's like a natural tobacco flavor with some earthiness in it and some spice and some pepper, but nothing really jumps out at you to grab your attention. And sometimes I really do like that. I like when one key flavor pops out and then it goes for a little bit and then it subsides and then another flavor pops out. It's not to say that this particular cigar sitting for roughly 2 years has become ruined, but it's something I probably would have never smoked as a first cigar of the day without having sat and mellowed out. But all in all, I'm enjoying it. It's just not, I don't think it's going to stick out in my mind as something very memorable. But again, I am enjoying it. So anyway, this video is getting kind of long, so we're going to take another production break. We'll be back one more time, wrap up the final third, and let you be on your way. So sit tight. Alright, well, welcome back. It's time to do a very brief wrap-up of the final third. For the most part, I've got a cigar that's burning fairly well. A little uneven, but not terrible. Still, the back side of the cigar has a little bit of a blistering effect going on. The front side is nice and thin and even. Or, nice and thin, not even. It's actually considerably wavy. The ash color is light. There's a couple of dark bands in there. It's fairly strong. The draw, on the other hand, is getting a little different. It's still free, but now I feel like I'm getting more air than smoke. While the smoke volume is still pleasant, it just seems like I'm getting a lot more air for how much I'm pulling through the cigar. As a result, it feels a little airy, and the cigar's beginning to heat up. It's getting a little unpleasant at this point. Body is medium. Finish is smooth. I'm not getting any harshness, any bitterness outside of the cigar getting a little warm. But all in all, it was a solid cigar. And the flavor profile, no real change. I mean, I'm still getting that sort of across-the-board medley of just a natural tobacco flavor with some earthiness, a little bit of spice, a little bit of pepper, more spice, more pepper through the sinuses, and not the sensation of spiciness, but an actual spicy component. And I really can't put my finger on what that is. But all in all, I thought it was a pretty good cigar. Again, having sat for so long, I don't think it's going to be very memorable. you know, actually, I think I might prefer these a little better when they're fresher and they haven't sat so long. But actually, I don't even remember what the price point is on these. Probably $5-6 somewhere around there. I think that's a fair price to ask for a Torano Exodus 1959. So that about wraps it up. So Jerry, unless you have anything to add, I mean, you can take us on out of here.
That's about it. Until next time, long ashes.